Atsyuttarasya dishi devatatma Himalayo nama Nagadhirajaha. The Himalaya, this highest mountain range, spans the northern border of India. It attracts everyone because of its grandeur and beauty. Last few decades, the Himalaya has played a pivotal role in supporting adventurous activities like mountaineering. Many mountain lovers visit this range for trekking and peak climbing. Early 19th century saw the beginning of an exploration in the Himalaya. With the advent of Google Maps and satellite photography, some may question the necessity of exploration. But still, there are many valleys and peaks in the Himalaya which are not yet visited by the mankind. When you want to explore something new, you have to begin from scratch. One has to be very careful and precise in planning everything, ranging from food articles to the necessary technical gear comprising more than 400 items. Our expedition in the year 2023 was no exception. Harish Kapadia is the guru of mountaineers and a mentor to many Indian climbers. In the year 2005, he completed a high-altitude trek through Pangpola. An article based on his observations and photographs was published in the year 2006 in the 62nd volume of the Himalayan Journal. We also studied other maps that we could lay our hands on and satellite imagery of the area. Last but not the least, our previous experience was the main reason to accept the challenge of exploring the Monto Group of Peaks.
For any expedition, and that too in an unknown region, you need to have a close-knit team comprising experienced climbers with complete faith in each other. Rajendra Shinde, that is Raju, he is a very good rock climber and in the past couple of years successfully achieved 3 first ascents in the Himalaya. Dilip Lagu is the most senior and experienced mountaineer of our team. He is an excellent planner and because of his extraordinary management skills is the backbone of our expedition. I, Rajesh Gadgil, was the leader of the expedition. I have been going to the Himalaya since childhood. I love to explore new areas, find new routes and attempt new climbs. Born in the Himalaya and having spent most of their lives there, these Sherpas are supremely fit. Pasang, Sangbu, Angchuk and Shering accompanied us this time. For getting our luggage to the base camp, we had hired mules, the trusted pack animal of the Himalaya. In such exploratory ventures, you always expect challenges. So to help us to carry loads, we had with us a 4-member team led by Vinod. On 9th August 2023, Solang Nala, our luggage, which we had sent earlier from Mumbai, had already arrived there. Next couple of days were spent purchasing and packing our rations and other essentials. 12th August 2023, our journey beyond Solang Nala began. Traveling on the scenic Manali-Leh highway, we crossed Surajtal and in the evening reached Pang. Next day, we left the highway and after crossing Sokar, reached Karzhok village. It is located on the west bank of Somoriri Lake at a height of 14,900 feet from the mean sea level. It was imperative that we acclimatize properly, which gave us an excuse to climb a nearby hill.
On 14th August, we started our journey on the non-metalled road being constructed on the western bank of Somoriri Lake and then turned west to enter Firsefu Nala. The road vanished, but we had not considered the determination of the driver. Taking zigzag turns and crossing the nalas at unimaginable places, they pushed their way further up in the valley, till we reached our roadhead campsite. This site was located on the northern bank of the Firsefu at an altitude of 15,060 feet. Our trek to the proposed base camp was to be a 4-day affair. We started on 15th August. In the southwest was the holy mountain Kharpa, having an altitude of 20,450 feet, which we kept seeing throughout the day. After 6 hours and 14 kilometers, we reached a place called Jhalum. On 16th August, we started early. At some places, the route left the banks of the river and traversed up and down along the neighboring slopes. En route, we visited the shrine of a local Ladakhi deity. We trekked for 7 hours and almost 15 kilometers before reaching a camping place, Manechan, and is located at the junction of Firsefu flowing in from the northwest and Lingdi Nala flowing in from the southwest. As we went about setting our camp, Dilip suddenly announced his decision of turning back. Unfortunately, he was not acclimatizing well and had opted for the best cure, lose altitude. We said our goodbyes to Dilip. It was just the two of us with our support team members who continued the walk-in on the morning of 17th August. After a few hours, we reached the junction of Lingdi Nala and Ayapaya Chu Nala coming in from the south. This Ayapaya Chu was to ultimately lead us to the Monto Group. We had not seen a drop of water since morning. Once again, we were realizing why Ladakh is called a cold desert. After a couple of hours' walk, we reached a place close to Mount Kharpa. A small nala containing water flowed down its west face, only to disappear into the dry Ayapaya Chu. There was a flat surface nearby, and we decided to put up our camp as we had no idea where we will find the next water source. We received another shock. The accompanying muleteers announced that they had never ventured beyond this point. We gathered around to discuss our further course of action. We decided that 4 of us will proceed to locate our proposed base camp. The whole team then shifted to our base camp on 19th August. While walking, our focus never wavered from the Monto peaks, which were constantly in view and coming nearer with every step. Our base camp was on a small hilltop at an altitude of 16,350 feet.
Raju, Pasang, Sangbu, and I left to explore the Monto Group in the early hours of 20th August. Initially, we climbed the northern ridge of a 17,000-foot high mountain to reach the top. A panorama of the whole group and its surroundings unfolded before us. All these were at quite a distance, and we would need to establish an advanced base camp. Availability of water was the main criterion, and fortunately, after some efforts, we found an ideal place. All the mountain people accompanying us are very pious and God-fearing people. We constructed a small rock temple at our base camp. We offered our prayers to our gods. In the next few days, after ferrying all the necessary loads, the team shifted to the ABC. It was 24th August, and now we were at 16,800 feet. Our first task was to find a way to climb Monto Peaks. The morning of 25th August, Raju and Pasang started ascending the steep slopes in the north. There were some snow slopes closer to the top. After reaching the top at 19,000 feet, they realized that there is a void between them and Monto in the form of a 1,500-foot valley. It was impossible. They also tried to find other viable options to this route, but in vain. In the meantime, Sangbu and I were traversing the slopes towards the east. We reached a col which we named Monto Col. After crossing the col, we descended to a nala. This Nala was coming from the eastern rim of Monto Peaks. We could see a possible route which was following the western bank of this Nala. We returned satisfied to our ABC as we had found a viable option. We discussed our mutual findings in detail and decided to follow the Monto coal route. In the next couple of days, we crossed the coal and hiked up the Nala towards the south. This involved a small climb and negotiating an extended jumble of big bungalow-sized boulders. After crossing that hurdle, we reached a small level ground located at the east of Monto Group. We decided to establish another camp at this site. To avoid confusion, we started calling this spot the Eastern ABC. The height was 17,335 feet. The non-technical part was over. Our Manali gang was to stay put at the Eastern ABC.
On 28th August, Rajesh and Sangbu started to explore the climbing route reaching to the top of Monto Group. Initially, they negotiated a climb full of small boulders. They reached the northern base of the Monto Peaks. All the previously studied photographs and maps of Monto Peaks had indicated that a climb on this face would involve tackling snow, but all possible climbing routes were devoid of any snow or ice. It was an unfortunate impact of the global warming on the terrain. During this time, Raju, Pasang and Angchuk had proceeded towards southwest to reach the top of the watershed ridge separating Spiti and Ladakh. They climbed the slopes for more than 3 hours and reached the top of the ridge at around 19,000 feet. But alas, they could not see any practical approach to Monto. Everyone gathered at Eastern ABC. It was clear that in this expedition, no attempt on any of the Monto peaks was possible. At the same time, they realized that they had been seeing intermittently an unnamed, unattempted peak of 20,030 feet. It was located on the Main Watershed Ridge. They calculated the required time, human resources, and equipment to mount a serious attempt on that peak. It was decided to establish a high summit camp. All the calculated food, equipment, and other essentials for the climb were sorted and packed. The climbers started the search on 30th August for the place to establish the summit camp. In the first stage, they climbed a steep slope towards south. Then they reached near a glacier leading towards their peak. They went further, climbing few more steep slopes. They descended to the western edge of the glacier. There was no flat place. They flattened some area and pitched 2 tents. Their summit camp. Rajesh, Raju, and the 4 Sherpas shifted to the summit camp on 31st August. The camp was 18,060 feet high. So they decided to begin their climb in the early hours of the next day.
1st September 2023, the most important day of our expedition. All 6 of us were geared up for the climb much before dawn. Things were barely visible when we began to climb. The first stage of our ascent involved reaching the col located to our south and which was formed by our peak and an unnamed peak of 19,600 feet. The angle of our glacier had become steeper. The rays of the sun were beginning to appear on the horizon. But as they did not reach us, we were shivering in the cold. After a steep climb of about 1.5 hours, we reached the col. And by now, the sun rays had reached us, finally bringing with them the much-needed warmth. We had reached an altitude of about 18,700 feet. It was around 7 in the morning. From that point, our route gained height along the eastern ridge of the peak. We were feeling very pleased with our progress and thought that with only 1,200 feet left to ascend, we might reach the summit in a couple of hours. Little did we know. After having ascended just about a couple of hundred feet up that ridge, the last portion of our climb opened up. The last 600 feet to the summit were going to involve climbing up 2 ice walls which were almost vertical. Without wanting to lose any time, we started fixing ropes on those steep walls, one after the other. In total, we fixed about 250 feet of rope. As per our practice, our Sherpa friends reached the summit first, followed by Raju and I walking the final stage together. It was barely 10:30 in the morning. As if to seal our success, the sky was also crystal clear today, with the sun shining in its full glory. The splendid views on all sides, as seen from the summit, are just impossible to capture through camera lenses. As we drank in the scene spread around us, we could not get enough of its beauty. Where to see and how much to see. Add to that the sense of achievement, and the whole feeling was surreal. But then, there is also the other kind of feeling. True, we had reached that point at 20,030 feet for the first time in human history. But there were all those mighty peaks around us, known and unknown, many having their summits higher than us. It made us aware of the many more challenges that lie in the Himalaya. It was very humbling. The question we mountaineers have always faced is, what do we really get out there? Of course, the answer is neither simple nor very straightforward. One just treasures the sense of achievement and the deep satisfaction of looking at ever-expanding horizons. We could thoroughly explore the unknown Monto Group and its surroundings, and thus could draw an up-to-date map of the region. We could also prove that earlier, the name Monto is not given to the highest peak of the group, but to the second highest peak. Now, we have suggested a clear nomenclature to the respective authorities. We also found a practicable way to reach and climb the Monto peaks. We were the first mountaineers to reach and cross Monto Col, and to top it all, we got the chance to reach the summit of an unclimbed, nameless peak at an altitude of 20,030 feet. Last but not the least, after studying the features of the peak and rules of the Survey of India, we were also able to name the peak as Thongmet Kangri. Hey, what more can one expect from any venture.